So, Dan Brown, who's going to claim that he's the producer, just left. We were waiting for him to get out of our hair before we started this episode. My name is Ryan. That's Bryan. This is Unpopular Opinions. Not 100% sure what episode this is because that water has been muddied a little bit after we did an entire episode, and then we lost the footage. No, we lost the audio. The footage is still there.
We should dub over it someday.
My obligatory Canada... Oh, no, not Canada Dry. If you want it to be Canada Dry, though, Canada Dry, you send me your ginger ale, but that's my obligatory ginger ale burp. So, Bryan Shy, nice to have you with me. As I started telling you just a few brief moments ago, I saw something on the internet that got me fired up the other day, you know, because I'm a huge Super Mario fan, and I pretty much buy all those games unconditionally, and I was there for the day one release of the Switch, even though I didn't really like any of the games. I just like Nintendo. I think that they're the most fun games to play for me, and my favorite genre within Nintendo is platforming, and within that side-scrolling platforming, and within that Super Mario. Mm-hmm. And you know, so I just wanted to hear what you're thinking as far as like where do the Mario games rank, and you can take, you know, whatever yours favorite in terms of like greatest video games of all time, because they have to at least be in the conversation. And if, you know, even if you don't love the gameplay or something, just looking at like the cultural influence. I mean,
Mario's got to be up there. I mean, of the top 5 most influential game franchises, Nintendo probably, you know, I feel like Mario, Metroid, and Zelda probably take up 3 of those 5 spots, just in terms of influential franchises.
I don't know about Metroid.
I mean, okay, okay. So there's so many games out right now that, you know, call themselves, you know, quote unquote Metroidvania, you know. But people forget Castlevania did come first, but Metroid is the one that took that Castlevania formula, perfected it, and then Castlevania started doing the same thing.
So, just elaborate a little bit on what you like. What? So you're saying that Metroid and Castlevania are like a subgenre of games that only those two fit into for a time, or what do you mean?
Well, just okay. So for example, like literally right before we started this, I bought Dead Cells on the Switch. That is a side-scrolling roguelike, but it is a Metroidvania game. So Metroidvania typically means it's 2D side-scrolling. There is some platforming, but there's some RPG elements like again Metroid. When you come across your first like green door, you can't open it because you don't have the super missiles yet. So it's like kind of gates you off. You're going to want to backtrack once you get new equipment so you can explore new areas. That's kind of that's basically what that genre is called now, Metroidvania. So that's all I meant. I mean, like, yeah, I feel like quality Metroid games, there are some of them, but generally you don't see too many of them these days. Like, Nintendo's really kind of put Metroid on the back burner. But just in terms of influence, I definitely think it should be up there.
Yeah, even within Nintendo, like just how much of a Mario fanboy I really am. Like, you know, I've never played through a complete Castlevania game. I've never played through a complete Metroid game. I've never even played through a complete Zelda game. Mm-hmm. Like, when I'm talking Nintendo, I've just spent all of my time on Mario games, playing and replaying Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, New Super Mario Brothers Wii U. Mm-hmm. To me, those are just like what I really want out of a video game, and I really love Super Mario Maker because ginger ale. Because I played them so much that I got too good at the games like Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. When Super Mario Maker came along and let me take those graphics and control schemes and those games and just do something that is much more difficult.
Definitely.
within them. And I think what Mario Maker also did was make you appreciate the game design in those, because so many crap levels are out there in Super Mario Maker, and they're just so hard to make. Like, you would not imagine that they're this difficult to make when you are playing a Mario game. But they are, and there have been, countless evaluations and even studies, I guess, of how Nintendo does their game design specifically for Mario, how it'll like introduce you to a technique or a principle, or a new type of platform early in a level. And, so say there's like a new falling platform that you haven't seen yet in the game. Early in the level, they'll have you jump on that over solid ground. So you're not just going to immediately die. And then as you progress, it becomes like more high risk scenarios. And I just think that it's really impressive to me. I know it's easy for me to say because they're my favorite games, but still, anytime they're coming out with something like that, like New Super Mario Brothers Wii U or New Super Mario Brothers U, was that or was it?
Well, the one on the Wii U.
It was just U. There's no Wii in the title. Just New Super Mario Brothers U. Like, that was my favorite game when it came out. That was what I played, and I didn't play anything else until I'd beaten that.
I mean, that's really the sign of quality when it comes to Mario, is of all the core, ignoring all the sports or Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi, like all the offshoots. If you look at just the core platforming games, whether it's 2D or 3D, they're really, there's no truly terrible Mario game, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
Like, they're all good. At the very least, they're all good. I think Mario Brothers 3 is one of the greatest games of all time. Full tilt, you know what I mean? So, yeah, Mario really is easily up there as far as, like, most important or greatest game franchises ever, just based on quality alone.
Did you play through Odyssey?
I am currently playing through it.
Playing through it. I liked it. I definitely can appreciate it. I got hooked on NBA 2K18, and whenever I was picking up my Switch, that's what I was playing instead of Super Mario Odyssey. So I don't love games like Super Mario 64. Even the Galaxies, which, a lot of people who I respect in the video game community have said, like, those are some of the best Mario games or video games ever. In the first Mario Galaxy, I didn't like how I had to use the Wiimote to point at the screen. Like,
yeah,
that was annoying to me, and I never loved the gimmick with the Wii. Like, the less I had to use motion controls in a game, the better I was with it. It was okay in something as simple as Wii Sports, where there's only like an action or two, so that the game isn't really going to get confused on what you're trying to do. But especially when it first came out, before they had the Wii Motion Plus, that was not a precise instrument.
No.
And it could be pretty tedious trying to...
even after the Motion Plus, it wasn't the most precise instrument.
Have you... Boy, I played Just Dance on the Switch, but I don't know if they're not... Oh, 1-2 Switch. I guess they're doing a few motion control-y stuff.
Yeah.
Although that game was brutal. 1-2 Switch, man, that should have been like $15 or $20.
Yeah.
And I bought that as a full price game at launch, and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, that's probably one of Nintendo's worst first party games ever. Is 1-2 Switch. Like, that was not a good game.
Did you buy it?
I did not, but I played it on your Switch when you brought it to work.
Right. That was even on the launch day of the Switch, so it seems like we could have given it a break just based on like how new it, like, it was literally released for a new console that came out that day, and we were still like, this is not.
Yeah.
Madden is coming out within the next week. You gonna pick that up this year, Madden 19?
I will. I'm not nearly as excited for it this year. I don't know why, to be honest. I mean, I am excited for it. I love Madden every year when it comes out, but last year it was like, gotta get it day one. I mean, I remember the last several years, it's like, gotta get it day one, gotta get it day one. This year, I might even wait a month or two. Like, I'm not in any particular rush. I don't know if that's like a personal thing. As a Patriots fan, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just like I'm not that excited about this upcoming year. Okay. I think maybe that's why it's kind of tempered my my looking forward to of Madden this year.
Don't let the Arizona Cardinals on my shirt fool you. That is just where I live now, and I'm a sports fan in general. Like I would wear a bunch of different jerseys or sports related memorabilia from a bunch of different teams. So I guess I picked a bad day to wear this, but I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And after the drubbing that they put on the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I think that's one of the reasons I want to buy it is I don't know how many times in my lifetime the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be the best team in Madden or one of, having just won the Super Bowl. But I don't know if I really want to support them for a $60 game where they probably haven't made $60 worth of improvements over last year.
Yeah, I mean, because everything I've seen, like the big improvement this year is almost just purely aesthetic. They say that this is the second year EA is using that new Frostbite engine, and so obviously another year to tinker with it. So the game looks amazing, and they've cut back on some of the canned animation, stuff like that, make it more fluid.
That is huge for me. I don't know if it was when they really got into that, both Madden and NBA 2K, and I know I've complained about that to you before, like, at no point in a video game do I not want to have control of my character.
Yeah.
So, like, during a tackle animation where it just goes into a canned animation and I don't have control of my dude for a few yards, like, I don't know. I feel like I should still, even if a defender is wrapped on me, I still want to be able to maybe like pick which way my guy's going to lean or what move he's going to try to use to break out of a tackle. But
yeah, I think one of the most frustrating things I remember in last year's Madden that happened to me a little more than I'd like to is like the animation where someone kind of tries to tackle you from behind and your character breaks it by kind of high stepping. But that's a canned animation. You can't cover the ball or anything right that. I had so many fumbles coming right out of that animation because I'm just like a perfect target for a hit stick when my character does that movement. And like I from what I've read, haven't played it obviously, the new Madden does address a lot of those issues.
And I really don't play online.
Neither do
I except for the games that I'm like really good at. I mean, I don't really want to play them competitively. I just want to relax. I don't want to play any of these games on the hardest difficulty. I just want to play them at my own pace without having to stress out about how good I am in relation to other people. I also don't want to give the company any more money for stuff that I feel like should have been included with the game. Like the Ultimate Team modes are just gambling.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they've gotten away with that. Like, hey, give us $5 and you have a chance
to get that player
Tom
really
Brady or Cristiano Ronaldo in this Ultimate Pack. Like, that just really doesn't do it for me. And just in general, I do enjoy the franchise modes in video games a little bit better where, you're trying to tweak your roster and stuff like that. And I usually try to keep it pretty realistic.
Yeah, when I play NBA 2K, I usually cap myself at two trades because otherwise, you can just revamp your entire team if you wanted to. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I mostly stick to franchise modes in sports games. I like the idea of taking a bad team. Like that's the weird thing with me is I almost never play as the Patriots when I play Madden franchise mode because I want to take like a really bad team like the Lions or not the Browns because I hate their uniforms.
Those are brutal.
But yeah, just a bad team and taking them to the top like that's a lot of fun for me.
So do you simulate anything?
Madden, I will typically play most of the games. Sometimes, just because like I feel like if I did simulate, because I'm like you two, like I don't want to ramp it up to all Madden all the time. Like, I'll play a game or two in all Madden just for the change things up once in a while. But I'll usually simulate. I'll usually play about 10 games and simulate the other 6, so that way if I lose or win or whatever, I'm probably gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
But I'm not gonna be going 15-1, 16-0 every single year.
Right. But yeah, I think that they are making some of those changes. And this is their second year with the Frostbite engine, which is, I think, what EA is pretty much using for all of their games. Now, how much of stuff like Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront are you playing?
I'm not a big first-person shooter guy.
No?
Yeah, because I'm just not good at them.
Because that is that the Frostbite engine is, I don't know if they used it in Battlefield 4. That might have been a little too early because that was like a 2013 or 14 release.
If it either just missed it or it may have very well been the very first game to show off the Frostbite engine. I'm not sure. So I do remember the whole. I mean, number one, I think fanboyism is absolutely stupid. But you do have like Call of Duty fanboys and Battlefield fanboys, and it's always Call of Duty's got the perfect 60 frames per second. Battlefield's got the much nicer visuals, and that's always what they're bickering over.
Yeah, I think that the pace of play in Call of Duty is you might have to drop the graphical quality because you can't have anything be a frame off when it's
that twitchy.
Yeah. Battlefield is way more strategic and slow paced.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Chronologic.network. Chronologic is an Ethereum-based project that aims to solve time-related problems on the blockchain. Through Chronologic's 3 core products, the Ethereum alarm clock, debt smart contracts, and the day token minting mechanism, they solve the problems of payment scheduling, crypto loan time constraints, and unstable token launches. Find out more at chronologic.network.
Speaking of strategy and slow pacing, I don't know if I told you this, but we are going to keep today's episode a little shorter and just see how a half hour does us. Just in case an hour can be a bit of a slog to get through, and maybe we'll try to find our footing in some different formats so that maybe we're ever in a time crunch or something, we're sure we can get out the 30 minutes worth of content. But should have mentioned that at the beginning of the show, but we're just going to go for a half hour. I guess you will see the timestamp on this and
how close we hit the mark.
Yeah, because last week we went for like almost an hour 15 because what I had planned to take maybe like 20 minutes in the beginning, I ended up ranting for like 50 about, and so then everything else that we wanted to talk about just got pushed back. But today, we're talking about video games in the upcoming releases, and Bryan says yes, he's going to buy Madden, but he's not going to do it right away. Are you waiting for a price drop?
I'm not necessarily, just maybe more like, because I'm thinking in my head right now. I got a bunch of games that tied me over. I'm finally starting The Witcher 3 over again. A couple days ago I started it back
over
up.
Again. So like you beat it once?
No. I put probably like 20 hours into it and I just stopped. My last save file, it blew my mind. The last time I played Witcher 3 was in 2016.
Yeah.
So I stopped playing in 2016 and I just picked it back up, a couple days ago. So
you started over?
Yeah, I started because I didn't know how to play. I didn't remember the story. So I just started from scratch. So that's obviously going to take me a while.
Yeah.
And then after that we got Spider-Man, and then after that we got Red Dead. So honestly, as much as I love Madden, I'm really looking forward to Spider-Man. I'm really looking forward to Red Dead 2.
Do you think that I need to get on Red Dead 2 if I didn't love the first one that much?
Oh, that's a tough. What didn't you like about the first one?
I felt like it was very slow, hard to control, clunky. I didn't like riding the horses and stuff. I couldn't, it's obviously trying to be somewhat realistic. It's a slower method of travel. But even, whether it was trying to control my horse or where John Marston was walking or where I was firing my gun, I felt like it was clunky in the directional controls.
I mean, Rockstar has improved on just general their controls, generally speaking, across like their big, open world games. Like GTA 5 handles like a modern day shooter.
Oh yeah, that's great. Like, maybe because I did play GTA 5 first and then went back to
that probably
Red Dead. But I've tried to go back and I never completely played through GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas. So maybe a year or two ago, I went back and I was like, okay, I played Vice City like once when I was a kid. They were kind of hard for me to get my hands on when I was probably 8 to 13 years old when these games where you kill prostitutes were coming out. My parents weren't huge on it. So
did I ever tell you?
You got your social studies teacher
to buy me Vice City. Yeah, my parents weren't too keen on the game either.
So what grade were you in?
I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school.
Okay, and you're like 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
So I've been 4th or 5th grade. So I wasn't getting Vice City at launch, when I was 11.
I will say I recently went back, or somewhat recently, but in like the last 2 months, I tried to go back and start Vice City over again just because I remember as a kid, Vice City was one of my favorite games of all time. Or not as a kid, but when I was younger in high school and stuff like that. I thought it was amazing, just this perfect 10 of a game. And man, that game has not aged well at all.
Just like the same thing that I'm saying about Red Dead, but to like a greater extent, how I didn't feel like I had control over anything. Like the aiming of the guns is terrible and the car's control terrible. And maybe it was great in 2004 or whenever.
When did Red Dead come out? I bought
2009.
It was 2009 or 10, yeah, because I remember I had just started dating my eventual wife. And that was my senior year of college. So that's 2009, 2010.
So you remember different stages of your relationship based on the game you were playing at the time?
Oh, no, I just remember...
like, what game were you playing when you asked her to marry you?
Oh, I don't know. By then, it was all a blur. Probably Madden.
And I don't just mean, like, in general. I mean, like, literally at the time, he was playing Madden and then, like, looked over. He's like, hey.
Yeah, well, because I remember... she had to drive me to Target because I didn't have a car in college, and that's where I bought Red Dead Redemption.
That's probably what swept her off the feet.
Yeah, probably.
Boy. No, but hey, that would have done it for me too. I tell you what, some girls drive me to pick up a video game. You stop looking for other options.
But going back to the game itself, Red Dead.
Oh yeah.
So Red Dead 2, as far as what I recommend for you, I honestly don't know because I'm sure the shooting and stuff and the general controls I would imagine are better now that this game is after the first major game after GTA 5. But I feel like there's a certain amount of, for lack of a better term, clunkiness that is going to be associated with the Wild West, just because
So, if they do it well, like I think that Battlefield 1 does an excellent job of making you feel the weaponry of the time, and you're not. You're like the time to kill is much slower and they're a little bit clunkier in Battlefield 1, but it still feels like I have complete control over my weapon.
Okay.
Maybe it was just because you would reload so slowly in Red Dead, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's been a few years since it made each miss feel so punishing, and the fact that it was like so hard to get locked on.
Yeah, I think there was a bit more of a punishment loop for missing because, yeah, like, you know, a lot of the weapons back, it's like revolvers and like, you know, single shot muskets or rifles or whatever.
It's like he misses, and then it's like, okay, he's like packing it up, and he's ripping open the gunpowder pouch with his mouth. He's like finding a rock to shove in the barrel.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I have not played Red Dead since, like, I beat it, you know, way back when in college. And there's a part of me that's like that is legitimately worried that I've been avoiding it because I don't want to have the same Vice City effect. Like, Vice City has officially been tarnished. Like, you know, I mean, it's still a good game. It just has aged horribly. At the time, it was obviously amazing. But, you know, it's no longer on my personal pantheon after I've gone back and tried to play it.
I feel like that is the same thing with Super Mario 64, where, like, if I had rated my Mario games in 1998, I feel like Super Mario 64 would have been ahead of, like, the original Super Mario Brothers or maybe Super Mario Brothers 3. These days, absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good at the time that it was, like, better compared to Super Mario Brothers 3 or 1. I would always put Super Mario World at the top. But, like, I do not enjoy Super Mario 64 now. And if you do, it's because you enjoyed it when you were a kid.
There's definitely some nostalgia to it.
Like, my girlfriend, the first Mario game she ever played was Super Mario Odyssey.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so if she likes this, she would like Super Mario 64. Like, it's the first 3D Mario game, and, you know, Odyssey is it's in like the same timeline as Super Mario 64. And she didn't like it. It was too clunky. It was too hard to control. It looks atrocious. And these days, there is no way that I would say that Super Mario 64 is a better game than Super Mario Brothers 3. There is no way. But I may have said it when Super Mario 64 had just come out because it was so new and, like, revolutionary. You know, same kind of thing with, like, Vice City.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I feel like maybe it's just because the more I played it, the more I grew to dislike it. But I feel like Zelda 64, the Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, either or, I prefer those games so much more to Breath of the Wild. I was not a Breath of the Wild fan at all.
Was it just because of, like, I mean, there were some things about Breath of the Wild that was just different. It was an art style that Zelda had never used before, and I don't think that they've ever had the weapon degradation.
Yeah, weapon degradation, just bleh. I'm not a fan of it in any video game, pretty much.
So I was talking to someone about this, and they told me that why it was done in that game was because it was open world, they couldn't have enemies everywhere. So they made your weapons break after a while so that you had to go into the camps
and get
and kill some guys so you could pick up new weapons.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could just snake around them all.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like like I said, when I first booted up Breath of the Wild, it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's open world. It's Zelda all rolled into one. But then you just start going through, and it's like there's only like 4 or 5 different types of enemies. They're just different colors, and some are stronger than others. And, like, I don't know, man, just the progression of, like, Zelda 64 to me is almost perfect. You know, you got your first 3 shrines as a kid. You got another, 7 or 8 as an adult. Like, that's just perfect pacing.
I haven't played through that game completely. I was a PlayStation man or kid growing up. So the first time I ever took a real crack at Ocarina of Time, it was on the 3DS. Okay. And I don't remember how far I got because at the same time, I got Mario Kart 7 and New Super Mario Brothers 2, the golden whatever.
Oh, that's the one where it's all about collecting coins. How many coins did you end up collecting in that game? Did you ever hit 1 million?
I probably got to the 1 million. Like, if that was an objective in a side-scrolling Mario game, like, I probably spent more time than I should have to get it done.
Yeah, those are great games. Man, like, kind of touching on what we talked about earlier, I don't get a lot of the hate for like New Super Mario Brothers, like some of the various offshoots. I know people have called them soulless and stuff like that, but it's just they're good games. Like they're great platformers.
I really, really like them, and I just love that formula. So, like, if Super Mario World, if they released a game with that engine and just like redid levels and made new levels, I would buy that in a second. I would do whatever I had to do to get my hands on it, just because that's what made me fall in love with video gaming, and I have spent so much time on Super Mario World, and I could tell you exactly what is going on in every level and what pixel you need to run to before you jump to beat something most efficiently.
Man, I was so young when Super Mario World came out. I remember my mind was, not literally, but pretty darn close. My mind was just blown when I discovered the Star Road.
I remember that.
All those challenges.
I was in... It would have been first or second grade because my minor league baseball teammate came over after a game, and that was his thing in between T-ball and Little League. So T-ball, it's on a tee. Little League, they're pitching to you. In minor league, the coaches would lob it to you. So after one of those games, this buddy came over, and he showed me the Star World, and just the back of my head blew right off.
Yeah.
You know, I could not believe it, and I was... introduced to some Super Mario World levels that I couldn't just immediately beat, which is a very foreign concept to me, even at that age, because I didn't do much else besides that.
And like the baby Yoshis and all that, like that was just so. And I will say, I prefer Mario Brothers 3 to Super Mario World, but one thing Super Mario World absolutely does better is the kind of alternate exits, like the secret, like the only way you can get the Star Road is to know, like, hey, there's an alternate exit in this level, and stuff like that. Like, I think, and you know, like so many, like there's not too many games that use that formula. Like, there's probably a couple levels in like Donkey Kong Countries, like that franchise.
Honestly, I feel like, you know, maybe New Super Mario Brothers Wii was a little bit more linear, but New Super Mario Brothers U, it was the first time since Super Mario World that I had that feeling of like, oh my, like I just discovered like a secret path, and then you would go like bouncing along like the tops of trees or somewhere, like somewhere where like when you're just looking at the overworld, you don't immediately think, okay, that's where I'm going to progress through.
Yeah.
The amount of wonder and the amount of times that Super Mario World just made you feel amazed that you had discovered something new is just absolutely mind-boggling. And the thing is they didn't do it where like you were just like randomly trying stuff and like you know you would just stumble upon things and it just didn't mean it. Like somehow you had that feeling over and over again 100 times without it ever getting old or feeling like, okay, we're going to give them something new just for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's like in the first few parts of the stage, there'll just be like a key sitting there, and you know, like, there's a place for this key, and it's going to be worth it. It's either, you know, it's going to be a completely new land or, you know, a secret ghost house or something. You know you're going to get something out of it.
And then there's the one level in Chocolate Plains where you just have to beat it fast enough to unlock an alternate route. And man,
the one knock
that was a launch game.
Yeah,
too.
that was insane. Maybe the greatest launch game ever. I mean,
well, for as much garbage as I've talked about Nintendo, or Super Mario 64, I'm sorry. What other... Like, Microsoft and Sony don't do that, where at the end of a life cycle, you go back and look, and all of these consoles, arguably their greatest game launched with the system. The NES, Super Mario Brothers, came out the day the system came out. Yeah. Super Mario World was shipped with the Super Nintendo. Super Mario 64 available at launch.
Yeah.
GameCube maybe missed it a little bit, but still Luigi's Mansion.
Solid game. Underrated game. I enjoyed the Luigi Mansion game.
That's something where you go back at the end of the life cycle and it's still one of the system's best games. And with the Switch, I'm not a Zelda fan, but I can definitely appreciate
People
Breath of the
love it.
Wild.
Yeah. I think I honestly can't think of a single one for Sony. Microsoft does have Halo. I mean, the OG Halo, I believe, was a launch title with the fat Xbox, and that's again, I'm not an FPS guy, but Halo 1 is revered as a seminal first person shooting game. So maybe Halo, but yeah, like Sony definitely. Like I remember when the PS2 came out with The Bouncer, one of the worst games I've ever played.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. But yeah, Sony's really never really had that killer open debut game that I can think of, at least.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was in college when the PS4 came out, so I was too old to have my parents buy it for me, and I was too poor to afford it on my own. So I wasn't around for the launch of the PS4. I was still PS3 in it at that times. I mean, yeah, I've actually done an article about this before in the greatest launch titles on the Game Boy. Tetris, and Super Mario Land maybe was a launch title, and
Super Mario, that's the one where like one of the levels Mario's in like a ship, and it's I remember that as a kid. My dad was really good at that game.
Yeah. I remember being a little guy, and me and my brother, who's now taller than me, and I'm 6'3", so like he's not my little brother anymore, but we'd both curl up in this little recliner, and like I was so good at the game compared to him at the time, and he'd just watch me play on this Game Boy like under a light.
The old green screen Game Boy.
Anyways, we're just going to keep it short for you guys today. Make sure you don't lose interest in us, and we don't give everything all away, and just see how you react to a little bit shorter episodes. So if you do have an opinion one way or the other, maybe you like us, but only in shorter doses, we're just giving this a trial run today. So, if the half-hour episodes are more your thing, make sure to tell us in the comment sections or tweet at you, me, and BTC. And, we'll do whatever you guys want as long as you're willing to listen. So thanks very much for tuning in. I'm Ryan Tovel. This was Unpopular Opinions. That's Bryan Chai, and we'll talk to you next time.